Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the F124 Driver Career Mode here with the Haas F1 team. We're beyond the halfway point of the season, heading into round 14 of Season 1. The lovely circuit, very familiar, one of my favorites, Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. It's going to be a great track, have a lot of time on it. Throughout league racing. It's one of my favorites to drive. So hopefully looking for another one of those really good performances like we saw in Austria and Silverstone with the familiarity. Hungary still managed to come home with some points. Our teammate Nico Hülkenberg also managing to grab some points was a nice result in Hungary for the team, kind of falling back towards where the car's performance expectations are. But still managing to grab a couple of points, climbing our driver rating as we continue to move forward. Looking at the little mini weather setup, it looks like we are in for a dry race, but a very wet qualifying session. Of course, that's just kind of the overview. We'll see if the email has any extra detail on if that's going to be partial wet, partial dry, or if we may just have it fully in the rain and have to figure out how to get around the circuit on a bit of a compromised setup compared wet versus dry. But let's take a look at those messages, see if we've got anything interesting in there for us. Anything interesting in there? We do have a couple failures. No fuel flow, and it is going to be just rainy the whole way through qualifying. 80%, probably full wets there, so probably going to be a hefty one. Still need to complete the weekend with no more than 3 collisions. And we have kind of, we're starting to claw into to Aston Martin territory. Still have a ways to catch up, but we do have quite a few developments in the pipeline. Team color has changed from that red to the more appropriate white, so we're not confused with Ferrari, which should be good. But you can see kind of the gulf between the top teams and our group kind of leading the midfield pack. It does require a little bit of help to score some points some weekends.
Welcome to the behemoth that they value so highly. This is Spa. It's high speed. It is really challenging. We have elevation, we have dramatic corners, and we have one driver in a few moments' time who will take pole position.
So unfortunately, I was foolish and well, I didn't remember to switch off the practice power unit components before, so I'm going to have to eat into my qualifying time by using that time to make some swaps. I should be able to still get a run towards the end. I'm just trying to consider if it's worth. So I am going into a rather power-sensitive track with less than perfect power unit, but we are able to get the ICE, which was the most harmed, and the energy store. We're rolling the dice just a tiny bit with the leaving the gearbox in, but we wouldn't be able to get a timeout. We do get out with about 5.5 minutes left to go in the session, so we should be able to get a good 2 flying laps in, maybe 3 before the end of this one. But rain has lifted a bit to inter conditions, and here we are coming through turn 1 and headed down the hill now up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. In the intermediate conditions, bit of a lift, a downshift over the top of the hill, a little snap of the rear. Of course, usually in wet conditions, qualifying, you want to just get out there and do several laps, get kind of bedded in and go lap after lap, and get familiar with the circuit by the time you get to the dying runs towards the end. This didn't necessarily get that chance, so I'm still very much feeling out the circuit to get around now into Rivage here. Long right-hander, tricky on power in the dry, even trickier in the wet. And then no-name left-hander, a lot less runoff off to the right side, a lot less curb to climb on the inside. Pouon, very tricky, fast double left-hander, especially in the wet. We've got a McLaren all over our gearbox that we're definitely holding up because, well, they're just a fast car compared to us, and also we're still feeling out our way around here in the wet. We come through the final couple of corners starting sector 3 here. We have the big run now down to Blanchimont, the fast left-hander that's easily flat in the dry. Is it flat out in the wet? Foot to the floor. It is indeed still flat out at this stage. And now to the bus stop chicane, trying to find a braking zone. Just about got the car slowed down. And then being very cautious with the right foot, not trying to put too much power down. Out of the corner is a 153.5, so up to P3. Norris actually sets a fastest lap behind us, so the track is improving as we are out here. The rain's still falling, but you can see those lap times now falling very aggressively as drivers are finishing up their laps. So it could very much be a situation of last across the line is going to set the best lap time, and we have the opportunity to be one of the last across the line. We are on a flyer here. You can see we've already found half a second as we are catching up to the back of this pack. The question becomes, do we lift off and just trundle around, or do we try and make our way through this pack? Because our battery is running fairly low, but we are setting a purple first sector. We do have this McLaren still glued to our gearbox. But we're nearly 0.7 of a second up as we're coming through the start of Sector 2, really throwing the car in a little bit harder through Pouon there. And now closing into the back of the train of cars that are on their outlap. We found nearly a second already, but is rushing through this traffic going to put us in a worse spot? Up ahead is a Williams that's going to keep us well off the racing line because he's just not moving out of the way. So lift out of it, turn the battery down, try and recharge. So we're going to have to go for this final lap. We're going to let the McLaren go ahead of us. Try and get as much battery left as we can as we wind up for our final run. So should be able to improve even ahead of that, but absolutely parked on the corner was the Williams there, and tried to keep the foot in and get the momentum, but going around the outside just didn't have the traction in the wet to really keep the car glued into the gravel trap. We went and just gently drove through it. So winding back up for our final flying lap as time is expiring. Some wheel spin as we come out of turn 1. It's not going to be the big improvement that we had before. We do have some battery to play with, not a ton. Unfortunately, it was still a decent lift over Eau Rouge and Radion. We are still finding time as we would expect. Not quite the huge improvement we saw purple in the first sector last time, but we will find a bit of an improvement, I believe. Yeah, still some time found over our previous best, but not our optimal run through the first sector like we had that last lap. Very good run through the opening chicane there. So we did find a lot of time through that right, left, right. And now down to Pouon. Carlos Sainz, 51.2. We're going to have to find, what is that? That's going to be about 2 seconds of improvement in order to get down to the 51s and be challenging for those front spots. We'll see as the rest of the cars start going around. 51.1 for Fernando Alonso. We're wide onto the gravel there at the exit of that chicane, so we were able to keep momentum and, strangely enough, not invalidate track limits wise, but it is going to cost us a bit of time. 1.2 seconds found so far. George Russell drops it down into the 1 minute 50s, so we'd have to be finding about 3 seconds even to get there. We're going to find one and change, maybe a decent chunk more through the final bus stop chicane. Not really. Some good traction on the exit. We're going to find about 1.3 seconds. What kind of position does that give us? 14th. So starting in the middle of the pack, but in a dry result, we do have the opportunity to overtake.
Qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race. The Belgian Grand Prix, a race the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since a certain Michael Schumacher in 1992. One of the circuits that makes Formula One, Formula One. Welcome to the Belgian Grand Prix. 19 corners, 4.3 miles or 7 kilometers. There's over 100 meters of elevation change here with long stretches of the lap spent flat out. Look out for the bus stop chicane. The final challenge before the temporary relief at the start-finish straight. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and it's Fernando Alonso alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Perez, Ocon, Tsunoda, Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Oldtimer, Gasly, Sargent, Bottas, Joe, Norris, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me is Anthony Davidson. Well, it's all about forgetting last time because that was a bit of a shocker. How do they change the story today?
You've got to put it behind you. Whatever happened last time, I was always told as a driver, park it, forget about it. Obviously, feel the pain when it happens, but then you can't dwell on it and carry that through to the next race. So put it behind you and just crack on with this race coming your way now.
Okay, back of the grid. It's not great, but let's make the most of it. Good luck.
So taking a look at the strategy choices, medium soft is the ideal strategy according to the projection. So that's what we'll go with. We'll be able to go kind of long. If we can make up some positions on the opening stint with the mediums, soft should be right quick towards the end. We're surrounded by drivers on soft tires, so we might get a little bit of a slower release. Here comes the 5 red lights and out. We actually get a little bit of a better start than our teammate, but Gasly absolutely launches through the middle. An open door on the outside for us to go wide through turn 1, 3 wide on the inside of us. We're just going to slot in behind Stroll and Tsunoda. Verstappen down in P13. He's fallen back. Our teammate has as well. We've essentially gained 2 spots and a good run through Eau Rouge. Radion now around the outside, nearly getting put onto the grass outside, 3 wide, headed down to the first chicane. We have to leave the door open as Tsunoda's up the inside of us. He's going to have the inside for this right-hander as we have to go long around the outside of the Lecombe chicane, and that does allow us to get past Stroll, but not able to make the double move stick down the Kemmel straight there. A little wide through No Name, and now just have to try and get these medium tires into the good window. The softs should start to fall off pretty quickly around here for the opponents. And if we can just continue to work it, we might even be able to make a couple positions towards the end of the stint, while still having some health to go quick when they will inevitably get a bit of an undercut on us. I don't believe the undercut was all that powerful around here. We'll have to see when we get to the end of the stint to see how much time they gain on us. But we are running not the best engine power unit we could have. It's mostly the MGU systems that are a little bit more worn, but they're still within acceptable range. George Russell setting the fastest lap opening, leading the first lap of the race.
Okay, DRS will be enabled this lap.
And now we are going to have that DRS available to us. Having a little lunge to the inside of turn 1. Very slow on the brakes was Tsunoda. We get the nose along the inside, but not enough to really dive and get fully past him. Now we're going to keep the using the ERS down the Kemmel straight in the hot lap mode instead of overtake all the time, but because there is a healthy recharge is pushed onto the grass by Yuki Tsunoda, and we are not going to take that. Still has the door open on the right side. Are we going to be able to clear him this time? Give him a bit of a squeeze, and no, little contact side by side as he opens the steering, had the inside for the final right-hander, and again just kind of puts us offline. Very aggressive defending from Tsunoda, putting us essentially off track a couple of times. Now the fighting between ourselves and Tsunoda here is causing him to lose touch with the group ahead just a little bit. Hopefully next time down the Kemmel Straight we can get a clean pass. If he doesn't have the DRS, should be able to get a clean pass and then try and bridge that gap to the cars ahead. If we don't want to lose that lead pack, it does look to be closing up just a little bit, as we are starting to stretch back a little bit from Tsunoda. I believe we're probably running a bit lower wing configuration compared to the AIs. Actually up the inside of Blanchimont, have the speed, just go ahead and make the pass there. That is going to put us, unless we can get to within 1 second, at risk of Tsunoda down the Kemmel Straight. We might be just about hanging on to the 1 second. A little bit of wheel spin as we came out of the final chicane. Down to turn 1. Rear wing is closed for us this time, but we should be able to, I think we should be just about within a second by the time we get to the bottom of the hill where the DRS detection point is. Let's head up Eau Rouge Radion. We will have to see, do we get to flip that rear wing open in just a moment here? And no, rear wing is closed, so we did not quite make it to that 1 second. Dumping some battery in order to keep Tsunoda behind. Straight line speed good enough to, even without the DRS, hold off that RB. And we're starting to catch up to the Alpine a little bit. It's definitely got some work to do to get within that 1 second, but it's looking a little closer than it was last time through. We still have some work to do to get to the end of this race in points paying positions. Of course, we are on the medium tire. Those in front of us are on the soft tire. So we should, as these laps tick away, be gaining a bit on them as their degradation starts to kick in and our tires become a little bit quicker. And then we'll have to make up a little bit of ground, of course, because they're going to get onto fresh rubber before us. But we will have those soft tires at the end in order to go nice and fast, which will be a good time. Look at the gap. We actually have started to really draw open from Tsunoda. The last straightaway, there's no DRS down that section through, and of course through Blanchimont, but it seems we have very good straight line speed there. Lots of wheel spin getting out of the corner. Rear wing now open, so we managed to make that 1 second up to the Alpine. I believe that's probably Ocon. I think Gasly's in the pack behind us, if I remember correctly. Even though it was only a few minutes ago, I still can't remember. But I believe he might have fallen off of 1 second from the cars in front of him. Yeah, it looks like that rear wing is closed on the Alpine in the slipstream. Battery burning down. We're having to try and recharge a bit, but we managed to get clear, but very deep into Les Combes there, into the start of it, nearly off the circuit. But that gets us up into P9. Now 1.5 seconds to catch up to the back of Sergio Perez. We set a purple first sector on that lap. We're going to jump ahead a little bit further. Lap 5 of the race now. And still holding about 1.4, 1.5 seconds to Perez, but there's been a big kerfuffle in Rivage there. You can see on the track map a huge group of cars, and it does turn into a full safety car. So we're coming into the pit lane, as is pretty much everybody else. It does throw off our medium to soft strategy, but the hard tires should get to the end of the race, and I believe everybody is likely going on to the mediums, since they started on the softs. We are going to have to go on to the hard compound tires, and we get held up a bit, and we actually lose 2 spots.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
So not ideal coming through the pits there. On the hard tire, it is a long way to go. The mediums are going to, even if they can go to the end, they are going to stretch them out towards the end. So we are going to have that, similar to the first stint, the late stint advantage, I think, on the tires. But we're ready to get back to racing on lap 7 here, coming out of the bus stop chicane. The leaders have gone. We just need to get the car pointed in the right direction and on the loud pedal. Of course, trying to get these hard tires up to temperature, a little bit tougher than the medium compounds. You see they're quite cold already, and it's just tough to get temperature into the tires in this game under slow, like, safety car conditions. So still a bit of a struggle figuring that one out, but
No need to worry about the tyre conditions for
we've
now.
got a decent slipstream. We're likely not going to be close enough to go for the move. We are kind of burning overtake. Switch to the inside, try and make the lunge. So many times Sonoda has had the right side and forced us out through the Lake Holm chicane. That time we do the opposite, a big lunge, use the battery while we've got it, and manage to get the car slowed down for the chicane and gain that position. So we clear him quickly now in P8, chasing down Esteban Ocon, who is in P7. Sergio Perez, I think, has had an issue. He's might be well back in the list there. But now we've got to try and get another yellow flag as looks like a stopped Red Bull. Who is that? Going slowly? Nope, he's going again. So that is, I think, Sergio Perez, who's had another problem there. Apologies for the audio issues. Don't know why I keep doing that. Trying to figure out. Can never diagnose while I'm actively racing, though. That's the tough part. But Ocon's still holding about 1.5 seconds, struggling a little bit to get these hard tires into the window. So we're going to have to try and close the gap. Leclerc and big rear lockup on the way into the first corner there. We managed to keep the car from plowing into the wall. That's definitely not going to help us catch up to Esteban Ocon. Definitely not an ideal situation. And that is going to put Leclerc all over our gearbox. Now, Ferrari, very quick car, looks to have been held up a bit in the pit stops as well, like we were, so we won't really fight him down into Lake Holm here. And we'll see if we can let the Ferrari pull us along and maybe help us close the gap to the cars ahead. There is a Mercedes breathing down our gearbox as well, so going to be tough. While these medium tires are definitely going to be in better shape at this stage of the race, we just need to try and hold on, not slide too far back. We might be able to move forward towards the end, although that really depends on how the mediums do. Jumping ahead, lap 11 of 22. Leclerc has pulled us up to Ocon and has passed Ocon, and now it is our turn to overtake Esteban Ocon. We get the nose ahead. We've got the inside for the Lake Holm chicane, and this time, like, ooh, a little contact with them there. I didn't necessarily even feel it. I actually saw it on the picture-in-picture. Looking at the off-board that time, so a little bit of contact through the Lake Holm chicane, but job done, and just trying to press on, make sure we stay within touching distance of Leclerc, who has taken the fastest lap of this race. We do set a purple first sector, thanks to the burning of battery and the straight line. We're going to jump ahead another lap, lap 12 of 22, 10 laps left to go, and we have managed to stay with Leclerc, who is basically connected to not all the way the lead of the race. There is an Aston Martin that is streaking away, but we've managed to stay with this group, jumping another couple laps ahead. 14 of 22, a very good run on Leclerc towards the bus stop, having a little bit of a lunge. He kind of gives us a space, even though we didn't deserve it. Now we're going to go to the outside. We do get the DRS open, trying to sweep around the outside of La Sauce. It's a cambered enough corner to try and make it happen. Late on the brakes so we can go a little deeper and get the job done on the Ferrari. Joe Guan Yu out of the session at Blanchimont. We'll see. I believe he should be far enough off the racing line and in a recoverable spot, so we might not get a safety car. And it does look like we are going to stay green flag racing. So now, definitely starting to get to a point where it feels like these hard tires are becoming a little bit more grippy, a little bit quicker than the mediums. And around a track that I'm quite familiar, seems like we've got a decent opportunity to just keep picking off positions.
Try to get past as quickly as you can. Push, push.
Try and get up into the top 5. So we're no longer setting personal bests. So you see that yellow sector 1. But I would expect nobody is setting personal bests these days anymore. on the state of their tires. They've been on for 9 laps already. So medium tires definitely going to be feeling the pain. As definitely Russell and Piastri we can see on the medium tires, and I would expect that everybody ahead of us is on the mediums as well. I couldn't really see what tires those guys started on, but I would be shocked if they had gambled started on the mediums like we did. I would expect that they've probably pretty much all gone soft medium first. So here we are into the bus stop. A big lockup from Russell in front of us. We have to kind of dodge and avoid. We weren't really going for any kind of lunge, but we do manage to avoid a huge crash with Russell on that quick reaction, and up another spot for free essentially. Now next up, Oscar Piastri in the McLaren ahead. We managed to close up nice and quick into turn 1. He gets some good drive out of the final corner, but we're going to jump ahead another couple laps. 17. Weren't able to make an impression on him down the straight the last time, but this time we've managed to grab a lot of extra battery. Rear wing is open, and he's blocking. Very slow is the Red Bull. We're going to try and get a move done. Just going to have to kind of lift out and go around the outside of Piastri. We're very deep, kind of like against Sonoda this time. On to the inside, and we managed to get the move done on Oscar Piastri. Trying to pick and choose which way to go, left or right on the straight behind him, and we just kind of got nose-to-tail contact. So up into the top 5 now, and definitely sensing the ailing tires of the medium runners at this stage of the race. Closing up now on Sergio Perez. So it was actually not Perez that was having issues. It's a lighter blue, so that actually might be the RB of Daniel Ricciardo. This is the race where they, after an update that changed all the team colors, because at release, Haas was red and V-Carb was the navy blue that AlphaTauri had. So a lot of teams had kind of incorrect colorways. It was hard to tell between Ferrari and Haas. So now Haas is back to white. I believe Red Bull is now the darker blue dots. So around the outside, we try to get on Perez here and switches to the inside. He's still got a little nose alongside. We even spaced some big wheel spin coming out of the corner, but another bus stop move. So we tend to have very good straight line speed through Blanchimont down that last big full throttle section. It gives us a very good run to make some moves into the bus stop. So up to P4 now, eyeing the podium positions just ahead of us. And it's a Williams that has managed to work himself into P3. So quite a result so far for the Williams. Not close enough to make any kind of impression. He's going to have a little bit of a look on the Ferrari of, I believe that's Leclerc that's ahead of us. Might be Sainz. I'll have to double check when we get back on board. Yellow T-cam, that should be Sainz. But a good result. That's Alex Albon in the Williams that's having quite a day around Spa. So at Williams, a weapon usually in a straight line. Spa, Monza usually treat it quite well, and in this case, it's in a good spot. There is a Aston Martin though, decently clear of the pack for the race win, as that Aston Martin is performing quite nicely around here. Definitely a mix-up of the running order around Spa, as I think Aston Martin is the next team above us in the performance ratings, unless they've brought some serious upgrades to Spa, which we won't find out until after. But another good run through Blanchimont. You can see the closing rate, the slipstream. We've got the outside, so that'll give us the inside, the next part of the bus stop. So around the outside of Albon. Hug, this time we're able to kind of squeeze him out and get the move done. Up into the podium places here, P3 with a Ferrari just ahead of us. And another move done on a car on ailing medium tires. So probably going to be too much to try and chase down and catch the leader, who is indeed Fernando Alonso, 4 seconds out ahead. But we've managed to stay right with Carlos Sainz, and rear wing malfunction. DRS stuck closed, so no DRS until they can try and fix it. It does have a tendency to be able to be cleared up without a pit stop. They can work on it remotely and try and get the software issue, which is what it should be. But we're on lap 19 of 22. The opportunities to make a move dwindling. However, our best overtaking opportunity throughout the race has been in a non-DRS zone. We've made quite a few moves in a non-DRS zone, so we will see. But we're going to jump ahead. Last lap of the race. You can see no longer have that warning sign in the bottom right. Our DRS has repaired itself in time. We've managed to make about 2 seconds of a gap to Alex Albon. Carlos Sainz, we're going to have to really send it. Rear wing is open. Overtake on. He's harvesting battery, so we are sailing through on the Ferrari. Logan Sargent out of the session in the final lap here. So no safety car will be called. He's there on the past the start-finish line, but he's on that main front straight, or first straight. 2.5 seconds to Alonso. We've managed to close up quite a bit of gap on him, but I think we're just about going to run out of distance to catch him. The hard tires definitely ended up being the right choice to go on to the end of the race, keeping that rubber in very good condition. Big slidey moment through the chicane. Had to keep the back end in check. Still pushing on. Who knows what could happen if there's a lockup or a mistake from Alonso. We want to try and get as close as we can, but alas, it looks like we are going to come up just a little bit short of a race victory here. But just need to navigate the final chicane nice and clean. Hard on the brakes into the last corner. We've used up our entire deployment this lap. Nothing left for us out of the final corner. But easily across the line for another P2 finish in our career, our third of the season.
Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
The old master has done it again. Fernando Alonso takes the checkered flag.
Well, it's never easy and straightforward to put a race like this together today, but they did the best job out there. They used the information wisely, and they stayed on the track. That was the most important thing.
Aston Martin's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the biggest names in the sport. They're making their way out onto the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
Another day with some champagne. Carlos Sainz in P3. See if Albon managed to hold on to fourth. Should have been able to. Actually, I would have been able to see at the end of the race, but I wasn't paying attention to my timing screen because I do that sometimes.
And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Albon does hold on to P4. A very good result for the Williams team. Perez up into P5. Verstappen missing out on points. Championship leader outside of the points. George Russell from pole position to P8. And where did our teammate end up? He had an absolute nightmare. P17, falling through the field. Had a very rough day out there. Verstappen's lead in the championship comes down as Alonso gains 25 points on him with Verstappen out of the points. We're up to 89 points overall. It's going to be a long way to catch up to Mercedes. But still making some good move. We have the season break coming up next. But let's get prepared for the next race on the calendar here. And get a few of our goals set for the weekend. We're starting to get some decent results and starting to get some perks from our specialists, which is nice. So hopefully we can start having more successful upgrades and have a few less failures. We're up to 73 overall now, so we've had a tiny bit of a bump. And we're leading our our rivalry with our teammate. No current championship rivalry or ratings rivalry at this stage, so we're going to have to get a new one. And Aston Martin catching up to the top teams, is getting pretty close up to the top. Let's see if there's anything development-wise we can afford to stick on to the car. Just quite can't afford the tire blankets yet. Tire wear is a high priority. We are going to make sure that we redevelop any failures, so we'll go ahead and get that ICE durability. That will put me down to 200 points. So let's advance time and head into the season break. No development's going to be going on here, but let's advance through this and get ready to head. It's the Dutch Grand Prix next, and we have a couple of developments in the pipeline. Fuel efficiency, successful. Great front wing flap profile, successful. Very nice. And a healthy chunk of points as well to go with it, up to 316. Goals are set, so it's retained those. And we're actually getting very close to Aston Martin here, who has been in race winning form. Well, we're getting there. Still have a jump to make. We'll see what the arrows look like by the time we actually advance to Zandvoort and take a look at where those lines in the performance charts go. But we should be kind of at the top of that midfield at the moment. Just need our teammates to start pitching in and scoring some points as well. But thank you all for joining me on another episode of the Driver Career Mode. Next time up, we'll head to the Netherlands. The Dutch Grand Prix should be an interesting one. It's not a track I'm particularly great at. So we'll see how it goes. But I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.